Welcome to the BuiltOnAir podcast, the variety show for all things Airtable. In each episode, we cover 4 different segments. It's always fresh and different, and lots of fun while you get the insider info on all things Airtable. Our hosts and guests are some of the most senior experts in the Airtable community. Join us live each week on our YouTube channel every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, and join our active community at BuiltOnAir.com. Before we begin, a word from our sponsor, On2Air Backups. On2Air Backups provides automated Airtable backups to your cloud storage for secure and reliable data protection. Prevent data loss and set up a secure Airtable backup system with On2Air Backups at On2Air.com. As one customer, Sarah, said, having automated Airtable backups has freed up hours of my time every other week and the fear of losing anything. Longtime customer David states, On2Air Backups might be the most critical piece of the puzzle to guard against unforeseeable disaster. It's easy to set up, and it just works. Join Sarah, David, and hundreds more Airtable users like you to protect your Airtable data with On2Air Backups. Sign up today with promo code BuiltOnAir for a 10% discount. Check them out at On2Air.com. And now let's check out today's episode and see what we built on air.
Welcome into the Built on Air podcast. We are in episode 2 of season 20. Good to be back with you. We've got the full crew back with us. Camille and Alli, welcome.
Hello.
Good to have Camille back. And welcome in Martin. Hi, Martin.
Hello, everybody.
Good to have you on. And we'll learn more about Martin later in the show, but good to have him with us. I'll walk us through what we're going to be talking about today. As always, it's an hour-long show, keeping you up to date on everything in the no-code, low-code world of Airtable. We always start with our Around the Bases with all the community action and conversations, and then a spotlight on our sponsor, On2Air Backups. And then we'll learn more about Martin Malinda and his story and background. And then he's going to be sharing with us his product that he built called Powersave. And then we'll talk about how you can join our community and be a part of this great group. And then we'll finally end with a feature on Rollups and how to use them for some tricks of the trade from Alli. So with that, around the bases. First, we got to give a shout out to Airtable coming up next week in New York City. I know Camille, Alli, and myself will be there, along with many other Airtable users. So if you have not signed up, I believe there still are tickets available. So check it out at Airtable.com. Also saw Alli post on LinkedIn that she is ready to go. Doing junction tables. What's your function? Little shout out to, what's that from? I know, what's it from?
Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah. That's right.
Don't make me feel older than I already feel today, Dan.
So everybody, all the adults, and like I should say older adults, I guess I am an adult, but like my dad was like, no one's gonna know what that's a reference to, and I'm like, no, they still play it in schools. Like, yeah, people younger than me.
Yeah, I think I'm older than it. I know it, but I think it might be from my kids' generation. But cool. And Alli, or Camille, what's your topic?
I'm gonna do a complex series of approvals that can be customized to just about any use case. So I'm gonna try and make it as interactive as I can. And the good news about Airtable this year is that at least some of the sessions will be recorded. So if you can't make it, I do believe there are ticket options for you to get access to the live stream and the video on demand. So if you can't make it all the way to New York, you might still be able to watch some of the sessions.
Nice. Very good. Justin chiming in. He knows what it is. Very good. Okay, so we're excited. Let us know if you're going to be there, and we'll catch up with you in New York next week. A couple other items from the Built on Air community. Russell points out, looks like I'm not exactly sure what got changed here. I think it's the sidebar. What exactly is he referencing?
I think the language was changed from edit interface to edit pages. I think.
Yeah, I think it just said edit before, and maybe it's more specific to saying you're editing the pages of this interface. They also moved the arrow to collapse it, which is throwing me off so badly because I have muscle memory to just go up to the top left, and I'm like, where'd it go?
Oh yeah, Justin saying it used to just be edit. So yeah, it's just a little bit more specific. And same what Alli said, the moving of the collapse button. The position of it now is fine, but I am very used to going to the top and being like, okay, well, I guess I'll relearn.
Yep.
Gotcha. So making some tweaks to the interfaces. I did not see any new product or any new features released this week, so relatively quiet after a couple bigger announcements in previous. But some third-party, well, actually, this is a issue Scott Rose is pointing out. If you have a public shared interface, which is a new feature, there is the ability to enable the download CSV button, but it doesn't work to the general public. It makes them go and log in order to download it. So it's kind of misleading.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it should the button shouldn't show up at all if it's not enabled for, public use on a public shared view. But there are a lot of times I could see someone wanting to have that ability to let anyone download CSV. And when you do CSV, it's not like it's taking all of the columns or all of the fields in the table. It's just what you expose. So I think, ideally they would just enable this feature so that you could do it from a publicly shared link.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, next one. A couple product updates from third party. So SyncGrip, we had this on, or we're having this on. And so anyways, a new integration between Airtable and MailChimp. So from SyncGrip, if you're looking for another tool to connect apps. And then we've got another one from Gavin at CSV Getter. They just announced the ability to export shared views and some more functionality there that he announced. So a couple updates there. And then one more, Rupert from Docs Automator. They now have an extension in the marketplace. So if you were already using Docs Automator, you can now get it inside of Airtable through an extension. So shout out to Rupert on Docs Automator. And then one more. This is a new one called AutoFrame. And so this is a Airtable to Figma plugin. So it syncs, I believe it syncs your Airtable data to frames in Figma. So if you're using Figma and want to sync it with your Airtable data, that's pretty cool. And I believe so you can actually edit your frame information in Figma from Airtable, and it'll update all the properties. So that's pretty cool. We actually did a project similar to this for Miro, so kind of similar functionality to connect to Miro for client project. So that's one. Let's see. Next one. Okay, Martin, this is from you. Why don't you give us a description? What's going on here?
Yeah, I was mostly sharing a little pain point I have with Airtable automations, that if you have some kind of API that is not entirely consistent in terms of how it sends data, like that you have a JSON, the JSON might have a property, and some APIs, for example, I think Stripe, would send that property all the time, even if the value is empty. And so then you can map it no problem, your Airtable automation will just work all the time. But then maybe there is another kind of API, and maybe for some kind of specific values, it will not send the property at all. And then your mapping will break because Airtable will complain hey, this property doesn't exist in the JSON at all. and you have to fix it, and then your entire automation is broken until you resolve it in some way. But so there's particular APIs where I struggle to make it work with Airtable overall. But
yeah. That's also...
Yeah, so workaround. I think Camille, you had a workaround.
Yes, I think I'm echoing maybe Russell, who said it above me. Normally what I do is I'll have the webhook trigger and then a run a script action that calls whatever service I'm using to receive a webhook from to get properties about that whatever event just happened, so I can get the full response and then modify it if need be. If the property is still missing, or if, depending on how the webhook is triggered, I run into things where the property I need is named differently depending on where the webhook was fired from, but the value is always going to be the same. So I have to map it to a consistent key property. So it's a little frustrating when you have inconsistent API returns like that, and using a run a script action helps, as long as in the webhook response you have a unique ID that you can pass to the original service and say, all right, now give me all of the same information again, basically.
Yeah. And then one little thing that would fix this would be if Airtable would allow to set entire object as an input. So far, you have to set a specific value, like payload.name. Or let's say payload.name, but you cannot just say this. My input is just whole payload, because then you could work around it much easier.
Yeah, it won't let you return in that screenshot that we're seeing. The inserting a script variable, you can't insert an object into it. It has to be either a string or a number or a date or something, but not an object. So just putting the entire webhook response in there would make things a lot easier. You wouldn't have to make another API call, but yeah.
Yeah, that is frustrating. Yeah. Okay. So maybe that's something on the roadmap they can improve. All right. Next one from X Twitter. So there's I believe this is a webinar from Airtable tomorrow, October 16th. So talking about the future of AI and Airtable. So if you want to learn more about it and how it works, you can join that webinar link there. There's also a pretty detailed PDF that they put out, the Ultimate AI Guide for Marketers in 2024. I downloaded this the other day. It's a pretty good document, insightful stuff in there. So I thought that was put together well. So you can download that as far as an ebook. And last one here. Okay, from Ryan. Airtable AI is making me regret leaving Wufoo, although I don't view that as a direct competitor. But if you've ever used the Airtable help bot, it is not very good. I actually just used it yesterday, and I was submitting a bug to them, and I was like, I want to submit a bug to your team, and they came back and said, here's a base to track your bugs, and you can download it from the universe. Like, no, that's not what I want. But then it did let me submit a form to get in contact with them.
Cool. Well, I can answer this question. Why can't you edit the color of the form? It's tied to the color of your base. So if you change that, you change the color of your forms, but it's universal. So
there you go. We need the Camille bot.
You kids and your AI. Back in my day, all we had was people.
We had to figure things out for ourselves. All right, that kind of wraps it up. A short one, not too many updates in the Airtable world. So next week, well, I guess not next one, but the week after that, we'll have some updates from Airtable. But we will do our show on Tuesday. Airtable's not till Friday, so we're still going to do our regular Tuesday show, and then we might see if we can get a live show while we're at Airtable next week. So that'll be exciting. Okay, if you are running your business on Airtable, it's mission critical data. You need to make sure you've got it backed up outside of Airtable. That's where OntoAir comes in. You can back up your data to Box, Dropbox, Google Drive, and soon OneDrive. Also in the works, teaser Amazon S3. If you want to store it there, that's coming soon as well. And so check it out at ontoair.com. We've also recently released our restore functionality to be able to restore your information back into an existing base or a new base as well. So check it out, ontoair.com. You can use promo code BuiltOnAir for a discount and make sure that you have peace of mind that your data is stored outside of Airtable. Okay, Martin. Let's learn a little bit about Martin and his story. I'm going to make you big here. There we go.
Hi, Martin. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks. Happy to be here. Yeah.
So how long have you been using Airtable?
I think I casually started using Airtable. It's like more than 2 years ago. And I think the first moment was where like we were developing a product and I was doing the user interface. So I was doing JavaScript, building a lot of UI, building entire new UI, like new product in Czech Republic. And there were other co-founders in the startup. And I saw like so many spreadsheets started flying around, like as we started building this thing. And besides the development, which was like managed somewhere in GitHub issues and stuff like that, the other, like the business side and the marketing side was just like managed in a lot of spreadsheets. And I was like increasingly concerned about that, or not concerned, but like it was a little bit annoying that more and more spreadsheets were like out of sync and, having old data and broken formulas. And I was thinking like, oh, there should be something like we should do this differently. And I remembered Airtable at that point. I think I saw it mentioned, I think somewhere on Twitter, like who knows when. And it just popped out in my mind. I did a little bit of research, like maybe there's like some other alternatives to Airtable right now, but no, like I still like reached to Airtable as the best user-friendly database, and we started using in the startup, and it turned out to be quite good. Like we used it basically for everything. I started getting into the automation stuff, and even though later when I left the startup, I still like enjoyed everything that I built there, and I was still like reasonably maintaining for them, and then I turned into a Airtable freelancer. I was like, this is good. This helped us, and this is a nice compromise between, for me, like, clicking around, but also able to do things with code, with JavaScript, and I can do a lot of things quicker, which I would do before just with code. Now I can do it quicker, and so I turned into an automation specialist, and I'm doing it ever since, basically.
Cool.
Offering Airtable solutions to clients.
So as an automation specialist, do you primarily work in Airtable's own automations, or are you using other tools like Zapier and Make and the others as well?
Right. I'm trying to do, I like to do a lot in Airtable automations. Mm-hmm. And, if I don't stumble across the problems like the one I mentioned before, I oftentimes it actually goes quite well. I think scale it up quite well, that I might set up one Airtable automation and then like send a request there to another Airtable automation. So I can, work around some of the limits. Like in Make, I could have a huge like workflow, let's say, and it could be branched out. But if you can split it into smaller workflows and you can trigger each other with webhooks, you can also get it I can get quite far with just Airtable automations and scripts, of course. I can use JavaScript. So that also another reasons why I don't have to do as much stuff in Make if I can do little ifs and little for loops. right inside the Airtable automation. But besides that, I also use Pipedream. So that's my another like tool of choice, and I like it because it has triggers, it has actions, but then when you need code, it has a really good code editor. And again, I also, together with AI, I'm gonna ask, hey, give me a Pipedream component for this task, and it almost like works. And you can use the entire Node like NPM ecosystem in JavaScript, so it gives you access to so much tools. So that makes me look quite productive. So basically, Airtable, Pipedream, and then sometimes Zapier if the customer needs it a lot.
Sure. We have, I think, early in BuiltOnAir, in our history, we had every Zapier expert under the sun, it felt like, and then we started having Scott on every season, basically, and he's a big Make, formerly known as Integromat expert. I myself like N8N, but I don't know if we've had a Pipedream like expert on our podcast before, and it is one of the ones that I want to try because there are times where, as much as I love low code solutions, I'm just like, I can do this in JavaScript. Just give me just give me something where I can code it up, so I can collapse a few nodes together. So I might take a look at it.
Right. I think the biggest benefit is like the ability to import from NPM. Although it's possible that N8N can do that too. I'm not sure, but maybe it can.
It might. I haven't gotten all that deep in it quite yet. But I'm trying to branch out and learn all of the different tools that help make things like Airtable a little bit more efficient. Because you can do a lot in Airtable automations, as you've mentioned, and like you, I've started to break up some of my automations instead of having, I think the max is 25 steps or something like that in one automation. Even that, you want to break things up to have one task accomplished so that if there's an error, you don't lose, all of your progress. I think that's a pretty good tip for when you're building complex solutions, especially if you're talking to more than one base at a time.
Right.
So if you've been using Airtable about 2 years and you're an Airtable freelancer now, and you have a product release for Airtable, which we'll get to in a moment, is there mostly Airtable for your more sort of professional side as you're, developing things for clients and for your former startup, or do you use it in all aspects of your life as well?
I'm definitely using it as like for my freelancing. I'm delivering it to clients, but I'm also like definitely using it as like for all my like professional needs. So I'm also like storing all of the like billable hours that I charge and invoices, and my to-do list is there as well. So, but like besides that, like when it comes to like some kind of like second brain territory, I'm doing like a little bit here and there. I'm experimenting with that, but I would like to do more. I would like to do more over time. But I don't have extensive like personal life base that I could reach out to so far. Although I started saving books to Airtable because I'm developing Powersave. I'm saving so much stuff, and I think it's just a matter of like organizing it more, and it's just a matter of time till I end up with like some kind of better like personal life management in Airtable.
Don't let it take over your life.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about Powersave just a little bit. So what was your inspiration for making this tool?
Right. Yeah, I think the first impulse was that I was building like a little bit different platform called Optimo, and it was more ambitious. It was a larger scope, and it was meant to be like a social bookmarking tool where you can, with a browser extension, you can save anything you find online, and you add it to your profile, and you ended up with some kind of like feed of things you and others share, like saved. Something can be private, something can be public, but it ended up being like too ambitious, too large scope. And I was thinking, how can I make this smaller in scope? And I was thinking, okay, let's take the browser extension and let's focus on Airtable. Let's not save to my own backend, my own server. Let's save to a place which is a great storage of data, which is Airtable, and which I know well. And that allowed me to reduce the scope, like make it like a reasonable project for one person, and it worked out well. Like I was actually able to deliver an MVP, a thing that would make people even like purchase some and like pay for. While before it was spanning to infinity and it was never ending.
That's the problem with building. I'm sure Dan is nodding along. Yeah, it's difficult to sort of. We'll stick to what would it work, what would work for your clients, and then what is maintainable as well.
Yeah.
So do we want to?
Cool. Yeah, let's transition over. Let me bring us back. All right. So we're going to go into Powersave if you want to get your screen ready. There we go. All right, you're up.
Right. Yeah, so Powersave, as mentioned, is a Chrome extension so far. I'll plan to make it work for other browsers as well, but I'm starting with Chrome so far. And it's a tool which you can use to save ASAP to Airtable. And it should be, like, the goal is to have it as quick as possible, as user-friendly as possible. And so no matter, like, what you find on the internet, if it's like a book, or if it's a competitor product, or if it's a like product on some store, let's say, anything you can find, you can quickly save it to Airtable. The idea is that you don't need to configure a clipping somewhere. You can just save ASAP, and that's why it's a Chrome extension that should allow you to do everything like this directly there. And so to show it in action, I can, for example, like show it on Wikipedia. I mean, I'm looking for some products. Maybe I want to use them, and I could maybe stumble upon a product or Airtable. And in this case, probably I already know Airtable if I'm using Powersave, but for the purpose of the demo, it would go like this: that I would open Powersave, and in this case, I already have here like a destination called products. But I could also pick a different place. I could create a new destination. And in this step, I would search for bases. I have 2 bases here connected, but I could have multiple more, as many as I want. And when I pick a base, tables show up. And then I can choose, like, to which table I can save this to. In this case, actually, I would like to save it to products. And then I end up with my Airtable table here. So quite similarly as in Airtable itself, I end up with a form. And perhaps I can, because there's a lot of stuff here, for saving, I want to simplify things. I want to save, efficiently. So let's hide everything and maybe pick only the columns that we want. In this case, it would be name, type, URL, maybe pricing, maybe description. And in this case, well, I mean, I could type, right? I could start typing Airtable. I could maybe start typing URL. I get some suggestions here, maybe for autocomplete. Maybe I can use them. I don't have to use them. But I can also do 2 things right now. There is one button here for fill, which allows me to do this basic autofill right now, like right away. It's pre-configured, so it checks that this is a name and it's a single text field. So there probably you want to save the page title, and this is a URL, and it's called URL, this field. So probably you want to save the URL from the website. So it does some kind of basic algorithm to predict what you want to save, and then you can save the record. Or potentially you could do more, and there is an AI function which doesn't do this just plain algorithm matching, but it does contextual matching with generative AI. And here I have 2 options. I could analyze the whole page, which is probably preferably here, but maybe on a different website, I maybe want to like match or like extract information from only a specific part of the website. So in this case, maybe just from this little box here. But for this, maybe let's try to demonstrate on the full page. And let's see. I could also type custom instructions here on how to extract, but it should work just fine without any instructions. All right, it didn't extract that much. I was like hoping for more. I think that it should be doing more, but yeah, let's try again. Right. Okay.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah. So it did a little bit more here. Maybe if I would try the restriction, and I would say extract from here, maybe it could be a little bit better. Let's try that. Yeah. So yeah, now I'm getting like a little bit nicer description. So that's the AI. Like AI has its benefits and cons, right? It's like every time is a little bit different. It depends how like the AI, like what kind of mood it has. So how to extract. But then if you want even more precisions, you can actually configure autofills by yourself. So I could say for this name, I have here like the website meta and page title. So this is pre-configured. This was done for me based on the column name and column type. But I could say I don't want to match like this. I want to set a different value, maybe exact value. I would just type here something, or I could pick some meta information, but a different one. Maybe instead of title, I could pick something else, or I could even pick by a DOM element. So I could write a DOM like CSS selector, or I can again pick from here, and maybe I would pick something like this, and I could see that, okay, this works. And I could even stack multiple values, or multiple configurations. So in this case, if I'm mapping from DOM, from the page content, and the value isn't found, I could maybe add like a fallback value, and I could say, oh, but if you don't find that, actually use the page title. So you can add as many as you want, and maybe even as a third option, I could say use AI. So the AI would be used conditionally. Like maybe the autofill would be instant, but if it didn't find the value, let's run the AI and try to rely on that. So, and then I would maybe here actually, let's try, I could actually pick some reasonable, it seems like in this case, Airtable doesn't allow description. And so I could add like a fallback here, and I could maybe try to pick some different meta value if there is something reasonable. And actually, there isn't. It's surprising that Wikipedia doesn't provide some kind of description. But maybe I could just add like a site name, for example, and then if I run again, I get at least this here. Or I could do the AI part, let's say, and I could say AI, and description would be short description of the company, and we can try that. Okay, and then delete this part here. And now it's actually running the AI. And let's see if it fills the description. One thing that I noticed is like the speed. Sometimes the speed is very good, and sometimes the speed is less good. It depends on like OpenAI, how fast their servers are. But yeah, now I got like a reasonable fallback with AI, so I got a good result. And then I can save and save it to Airtable, save it to products. And besides that, there are other features. So I could also extract multiple information. So far, this is like available only with AI. It might be working without AI too, but so far it's available only with AI. In this case, on here, I don't see any kind of repeatable information that I could save. Maybe some kind of history here, but probably doesn't make too much sense. But we could try. We could try pick this, and let's see what happens. Maybe this is kind of some kind of listicle, so it might pick something from like name and let's say description. And I would get some kind of repeatable information here. But yes, so it's picking out these dates and I'm getting some information about these dates from April to June 2023. So, and I could save 6 records in this case to products. And another part is update. So besides saving new records, as I'm browsing around in the browse on the web, the URL is changing, and Powersave can react to your current URL, which in this case would be here, like Wikipedia/Airtable, and it can check, is there already a product or is there already a record in this table, in the products table? And if yes, then it pulls up for you for edit. So right away found my Airtable record. And if I would actually go somewhere else, let's say I'm going to go to San Francisco, it should be, it's a little bit slower for me, but I think it's still loading some data. But yeah, so it didn't found the record for San Francisco, and I could create an empty record and start saving. But if I now go back to Airtable, it pulls up back the Airtable record, and I could say, oh, okay, this is a type, sorry, this is a platform. I can save it, and then if I go back to San Francisco, I should be getting the San Francisco. Yes, I'm getting the San Francisco record. So in practice, this editing feature can be used for, let's say, CRM. You're going from social media profiles, you're working, maybe you're hiring people, or you're doing your sales. And as you're browsing around from profile to profile, you will get your record, and you can choose, you can save more information about these records as you're browsing around. Or maybe you have e-commerce store, and you're browsing through your own store, one product after another, and you don't have to switch tabs. You don't have to search through the records. Your record will be always pulled up on the right side, and you can manage them. So it can be used for content management systems as well. You can use this as a little inline content management systems if your data are in Airtable, or maybe your data are not in, let's say you have a blog post, blog site, and your data are not, the blogs are not directly in Airtable, but maybe you still want to save some kind of management about the blog post, some kind of meta information about what is the quality of the post. And actually, I do that with my documentation. So some kind of management about the content. And yeah, that's the core part. That is, of course, there's small features around. You can set shortcuts. You can to make it faster, and that's about it.
That's
It's
super
really
cool.
It is a cool product.
It's there's a lot of features that differentiate it from Airtable's own Web Clipper. So with Web Clipper, you could do things like insert the expected class name or HTML property that you want to auto pull from. So in this case, if we want San Francisco, we would look for anything with an H1, or as an example. But I really like in Powersave, you have a tool that lets the user just click on an element, and then it would read back, okay, well, this is an H1 with a class of whatever. Pull that automatically as an option, because not everyone is as used to doing inspect to look at a page and then finding the right element that they want to look at in the code of a website. And sometimes, depending on how the website is built, it's pretty messy under the hood. Yeah. And being able to just, I want this, it's pretty great.
Yeah. And in the future, I would also want to have a little AI button here, which would figure out the selector for you, so that you wouldn't even have to pick the element, or maybe you would pick the element, but then the AI would polish it so that it's actually more stable and reusable across time. Because yeah, as you said, these selectors can break easily.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also like the ability to update an existing rather than always creating new. That's sort of Airtable's MO, is all of their various form solutions are, let's create a new record rather than edit an existing. And as you were about to demo update, I was wondering, I wonder how he's going to implement picking which record to update and then just using the URL is pretty smart. I mean, that's the one, right? So
yeah. I think usually you want the URL, but I think actually this updating feature could be the most unique proposition of this product, because when it comes to just saving records, you could be using alternative products, you could be using other web clippers, maybe some automation like browser automation tools. But when it comes to updating and having a form pre-filled with data, that's something quite unique to Powersave. And yeah, it uses the URL, which works in a lot of cases. Sometimes the URL might be a little bit messy, so there might be some marketing query parameters. Powersave tries to clear them out so that even if the URL is a little bit different, it will still find the record, but it's not perfect. But what I would like to do in the future is to allow even configure custom matching, so that quite similarly as to here, as you configure the autofill, you could also configure the matching configuration. And then sometimes, for example, I don't know, in Gmail, maybe you're in Gmail or you're in some kind of direct messaging platform and you're doing outreach or something, and you don't have the URL, or the URL is not really representative of what's happening on the screen. And in that case, you could actually pick an element and you would find the name in some specific element, and that would be used to find the matching record. And I think that could be interesting use case. It would make the update feature much more robust, reliable in different use cases. And I think in the future, it could be the unique proposition of this product because it's missing it's filling the gap of, let's say, Airtable and some other CRMs. That's what other CRMs are offering. Besides just the storage of data, they also have good Chrome extensions, which directly work with Gmail, or they directly work with LinkedIn. And this could be a good little plugin, so that you don't have to switch to entire different CRM if you just want to have a better Gmail integration.
Yeah. Justin asks what the 2292 badge at the top, what does that represent?
Right. So this would be the AI credits.
AI credits.
So that's the pricing here. I think you can do quite a lot with just for free. If you set up your autofills, or if you configure your autofills and you don't use the AI, and if you don't use this quick AI feature here, you can actually do complex autofills without AI, and then you don't ever need these credits. But if you want to have your life a little bit simpler and you want to have this AI as a backup, maybe you stumble across a completely new page and your configured autofill doesn't work there. Okay, let's just rely on AI.
Yeah, maybe talk about pricing. How does your pricing work?
Right. So there is the free plan, and then there is the pro plan, which is $5 per month. And with that, you get 100 credits, which means 100 AI savings or AI fills. But you can also buy more credits afterwards. And I don't have all of the numbers in my head right now for the bonus credits, but I think it's from $10 to $20. And I think $20, you will get 500 credits. So that's, I would say, plenty. It's from what I discussed with existing customers, this works quite well. You can save a lot with this.
Cool. Any what's on the roadmap? Any new features you're working on?
I would like to definitely work more on the update tab. So that custom matching, I would like to improve. I would like to still improve these autofills. But I think overall, what I'm trying to do as well is just do a lot in polishing, because this is a type of product that isn't actually creating completely new solution, right? It is more like a convenience product, and whatever you do here, you could also just switch tab and make it work with you can just insert to Airtable manually, right? Or you could use some kind of generic automation software. So I want to make the UX as good as possible. So I'm continuously improving little slide boxes here and improving little details to make it as user-friendly as possible, because people might use it a lot and on day-to-day basis. So it should be nice to use.
Any plans to incorporate like team collaboration?
It could be. Honestly, like one thing that I'm struggling with right now is the pricing. So I have active users, but because the product can actually do a lot on the free plan, if someone doesn't need the AI and the configured, autofill works with them just fine, they don't have really any reason to ever pay. And it would be nice to have an income so I can make this even better and improve it and push it and make it the best clipper in the world. And so actually the team feature could be one of the reasons. Share these configurations with other people. And I could also even incorporate comments. So Airtable has comments, right? So far I don't have them integrated, but I could have comments. And then once you have comments, you could even collaborate better. Yeah, it could be like a collaboration tool. If you do competitor analysis, if you do product analysis, there's.
Yeah, I think you could get more pricing on a team, because that's where like one person has the ability to set it up, but there might be team members that are just doing the data entry and not configuring it.
Right. Yeah, there could be that one technical person that just sets up these amazing fallbacks, and then everyone can save. That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah. But very cool. It definitely is a product. I'm gonna check it out. We use the clipper actually for this podcast, so I'm gonna give it a spin and see how it goes. And very cool stuff. Congratulations. So people can find it at powersave.pro. Is that the URL?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Powersave.pro. Check it out and give them feedback. By $5 a month is not too crazy, so definitely help Martin out. Okay, let's move on. If you are not part of our community, you should join now. BuiltOnAir.com/join. You get to interact with amazing people like those here with us today and thousands others, all lovers of Airtable and using it and talking about it daily. So check us out, BuiltOnAir.com/join. Get you in for free, and also signs up for our newsletter that gets amazing updates on all the latest news and everything, not just in the Airtable community, but the broader no-code, low-code environment as well. So join us at BuiltOnAir.com/join. With that, Alli's going to teach us her ways of Rollups.
All right. So this is something that is pretty basic, but is worth talking about. I think a lot of people don't really realize the little intricacies around rollup fields, and in particular working with averages in Airtable. So I'm just going to point out a couple little things to pay attention to as you're setting stuff up. So I have a very simple base setup here. I've just got transactions. I made them all $100 just to make math easy right now. And those are all linked up to months, so I can get the sum of those transactions for each month. And then I've linked the months up to the years, so I can see a yearly level and a monthly level of the gross total here. But let's say I want to calculate my average monthly income at the year level, so I can see over time, hey, are things getting better or worse, or where I'm at for each year. So if I add a rollup field and point it at my gross sum for each month, and change this to just say average of the values, which is what most people would start off by doing. First of all, there's a couple little things here. So this NAN is because I don't have anything linked to this year that for 2025. There are no months linked up. So it can't average 0 out of 0, right? So that's just an undefined value. NaN stands for not a number. So if I want to get rid of that, and I do, because if you notice now down at the bottom, my little summary bar is an infinity symbol. And so I can't actually get the total or get any calculations because of this NaN here. So the first thing I would do is I would actually just add an if statement in here, which is something that a lot of people don't realize you can do within a Rollups configuration. You can actually write full formulas within it. So I would just do something like, if I can average the values, then average the values. And now I can get my summary bar back and do whatever calculations here that I want to. And I don't have this ugly NaN here anymore.
Does it, if you were at the bottom to change it to average, will it factor in that empty cell or no?
No, it won't. And that's exactly where I'm going with this next part, which is, no, that's a great, I'm glad you mentioned that, because this 416.67, right? I have $5,000 total across the whole of 2024. And if you look, I don't even have transactions for November and December yet because we're still in October, right? So I don't actually want these two records to be throwing off my average because I haven't even entered these 2 months yet. So technically my average should really only be calculated off of these first 10 months. So it should be 500, right? We've got a sum of 5,000 across only 10 months. I want to see 500 as the average monthly gross, not this 416, which is being skewed by those 2 0 values. So there's 2 ways to do that. I could come in here and use this toggle and say where gross does not equal 0, or, you know, maybe that doesn't, you kind of have to play with what exactly your end goal is, because maybe right now this is only positive transactions, but if I had negative ones and they did actually end up at 0 as the gross, this wouldn't work because I would want it included. So all sorts of different things you want to figure out there. But the main point is if I do this, now that gives me just 500, which is what I would want. But I almost don't recommend doing it this way, because if I go back to my months table, if I change this summary bar to average, I'm going to get that 416.67 still. And if I had just relied on the toggle in this field, I'm still not going to be able to use my summary bar on this table. And sometimes I want to be able to use this summary bar to get the correct value. So what I would do is actually the same thing we did before, which is adding an if statement here and saying if some values. Or I could say, you know, if array join values, meaning if there's anything in this field, even if it's zeros, I want to sum it up. And now these 2 zeros went away. So they're totally empty. And now my average is 500, which is what I want. And in my years table, my average is still 500 as well. So there's a difference between a field returning 0 and a field returning blank. And if it returns 0, that value is going to get rolled up into your average. And if you don't want it to, you got to work some magic to figure out exactly how it makes sense to get rid of those null values. So just a couple little things to pay attention to, because when I was first learning Airtable and configuring averages, I was like, why is this wrong? I was like, this is just not the right number. And then I was like, oh, it's because I have all these records that are empty or 0, and they're not empty, that are calculating to 0. And I don't want those to be thrown into my total. So that's basically
Rollups.
Yeah, this is really valuable. It's like fundamental, field information, but it really has a huge impact especially if you're dealing with financial numbers.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. It's something important to pay attention to that you wouldn't necessarily think of until you find the mistake. And then you're like, oh, wait, I should approach that differently.
And you make a good point about consistency, because having the value correct in your year records, average, but incorrect in the sort of view. Like if you had this displayed on an interface, for instance, those two values are going to be different, and it might be confusing to somebody because you can make an argument that both of them are right, but you only want one of those numbers. So you don't need both. So making it correct at the most granular level means that any summary you make off of this, both in Airtable and outside of Airtable, if you were in Softer or something like that, you'd be able to come up with the same number across the board.
Exactly. Yep, that's exactly right. So if I had an interface that was pointed at my years table or at my months, rather, depends on which layout you're talking about. But yeah, if I had a number element trying to average up these numbers, I'd want to really start from this level to be like, if it's blank, that means don't include it. That way that number will always match across all your different entry points.
Yeah. Awesome. Very good insight.
Excellent.
Very helpful. Thank you, Alli. And that wraps up today's show. Thank you for joining us. Martin, thank you for sharing with us, and look forward to seeing your product progress and see you progress in the Airtable consulting world. So people can find you at powersave.pro as well as your own personal website. Is that martinmalinda.com?
martinmalinda.cz. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. And we will see everybody next week for episode 3. Have a good week, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to check out our sponsor, OntoAir Backups, automated backups for Airtable. We'll see you next time on the Built on Air podcast.